The sun rose gently, casting a golden glow over the monastery nestled beneath the ancient Bodhi tree. Disciples sat in silence, waiting patiently for Buddha to address them. Ananda approached, his eyes filled with a question he had carried for days. His voice tremulous but clear. "Master," Ananda said, bowing deeply, "why do we resist the changes that life inevitably brings? Why do we cling so tightly?" Buddha raised his gaze toward the horizon, where the sun climbed slowly, casting golden light upon the earth. "Resistance is born of fear," he said, his voice gentle yet resonant. "Fear of losing what we believe to be ours." The disciples leaned closer, their expressions a mixture of intrigue and contemplation, seeking clarity in the enigmatic words of their teacher. Buddha reached down to the ground, his hand brushing against a small rock embedded within the soil. Holding it up for all to see, he began to teach. "Consider this rock," he said, his eyes meeting those of his disciples. "It is solid, unmoving, and heavy in nature." He rolled the rock between his fingers, its rough edges catching the sunlight, and the disciples observed in silence. "Now imagine holding tightly to this rock while standing in a flowing river," Buddha continued, his tone inviting reflection. "Your grip would weigh you down, sinking you beneath the waters, unable to rise or move freely." Ananda nodded, understanding beginning to unfold within his mind. Yet he sought further insight from the one he revered most. "But Master," Ananda asked, "is it not natural to cherish what we hold dear, to value our attachments and love them?" Buddha smiled, his expression imbued with compassion and warmth that spoke to the depth of his awareness. "It is natural to care," he replied, his voice steady, "but not to cling. Love is not possession, it is liberation." The disciples exchanged glances, each grappling with the concept of clinging. Its presence felt keenly in their own lives. "This leaf speaks of impermanence," he said softly, holding it aloft. He turned the leaf in his fingers, its delicate veins catching the sunlight. "Let it go, and you shall float with the river, free from its burden." One among the disciples, a woman named Sujata, raised her hand hesitantly, seeking to voice her thoughts amidst the learned company. Buddha gestured for Sudama to approach and sit near him. "Sudama, focus not on avoiding sorrow, but on understanding it," he said, his tone comforting yet firm. "It nourishes life because it moves, evolves, and adapts." Sujata listened intently, her questions answered with simplicity that carried profound depth, echoing within her soul like a song. "But Master," she continued, "what if the changes bring pain rather than peace? How do we accept pain as part of life?" Buddha acknowledged her concerns, his wisdom grounded in the reality of suffering and the impermanence woven into existence itself. "Pain arises when we resist the flow of the river," he said, "when we demand stillness in a world of movement." He gestured toward the horizon, where the sun now illuminated the land, banishing shadows that had dwelled in the night. "Embrace change, and you find liberation from pain. For acceptance brings clarity and resilience in the face of life's storms." The disciples sat in quiet agreement, their thoughts swirling like the river's currents, reflecting the wisdom they had absorbed. Ananda, still holding the lotus, spoke again. Ananda spoke first, his voice steady and thoughtful. "Master, the river speaks of flow and resilience, never ceasing its journey forward," Ananda said earnestly. "Consider the tree," he began, his voice a harmonious blend of teaching and storytelling. "It sheds its leaves each year without resistance, allowing new growth to flourish." He picked up a handful of water and let it slip through his fingers. "Like the river, let sorrow pass through you. The tree does not lament its losses," Buddha said, his tone filled with compassion and understanding. "It accepts its impermanence, knowing that change brings renewal, transformation, and growth." The disciples nodded, their thoughts focused inward, recognizing the truth Buddha had illuminated through his words and actions. A child among them, curious and unburdened by adult skepticism, approached Buddha, her hands clasped tightly around a flower she had plucked. The disciples followed, their minds and hearts attuned to his wisdom. Upon reaching the Bodhi tree, Buddha gestured for them to sit once more. The setting sun cast long shadows, the air thick with the sound of chirping crickets. Buddha sat, resting his hands upon his lap, his posture embodying tranquility. The disciples reflected upon the lessons of impermanence, their minds attuned to the truths presented by their teacher, their doubts easing. Buddha stood, his movements measured, his expression serene, preparing to continue his journey to those who awaited his guidance. "Remember this," Buddha said, addressing the group as a whole, his voice resonating with clarity. "Change is not to be feared, for it is the river that carries you to new horizons." The disciples bowed deeply, their gratitude flowing as freely as the river before them, their burdens lightened by understanding. Buddha turned to Ananda, his trusted disciple, who observed the scene with reverence and reflection, his thoughts dwelling upon the teachings shared. Another day, another sunrise. The monastery awakened to the sounds of birds singing and the scent of fresh blossoms. The disciples gathered in silence, their hearts eager to continue learning from Buddha's serene wisdom. The disciples dispersed, each carrying with them the wisdom imparted by their teacher. The river flowing ever onward, Buddha continued his journey, his presence a reminder of impermanence and the strength found in accepting life's constant flux. The lessons shared beneath the banyan tree echoed in the hearts and minds of his disciples, inspiring change and growth. The river, a witness to the teachings, flowed on without end, its course reflecting the essence of Buddha's words. Another day, another village. Buddha arrived, greeted warmly by villagers who had suffered losses from a recent fire that destroyed their homes. They gathered near the charred remains, their faces marked by sorrow and uncertainty, seeking wisdom to help them heal and rebuild. A farmer approached, his hands trembling as he clasped them together in a gesture of respect and supplication. Ananda spoke first, his tone thoughtful. "Master, I heard fear and desperation in its cries as it struggled to break free." He gestured to a patch of fertile land nearby, its soil untouched by the flames, its potential waiting to be realized. "Do you see this soil?" Buddha asked, his voice gentle but firm. "It remains rich, capable of nurturing new life." Even after the fire, the farmer nodded hesitantly, his eyes drawn to the soil, though his heart still clung to the ruins of his past. "But, Master," he said, "how can I begin again when my heart feels empty? When my spirit is weighed down by loss?" Buddha knelt beside the farmer, gathering a handful of soil and letting it trickle through his fingers back to the earth. "Loss is not the end," he said, his tone imbued with compassion. Buddha continued, "Deep listening is not confined to hearing sounds. It is the art of hearing the soul's essence." He walked over to a clearing, inviting his disciples to sit beneath the shade of a towering cedar tree. Buddha turned to the group, addressing them as one, his wisdom meant for all who sought solace and understanding. "There was once a man," Buddha began, his words weaving a parable that would illuminate his teachings, "who lived in a hut he cherished dearly." The villagers leaned closer, drawn to the story unfolding before them, their attention focused on each word. One day, Buddha continued, the hut caught fire, reducing his beloved home to ashes. The man wept, refusing to leave the ruins. The villagers nodded, their own grief mirrored in the tale, their thoughts intertwining with the lessons yet to be revealed. The man grew weaker, Buddha said, his voice steady, clinging to the memory of his loss. Unable to see beyond the devastation, he paused, allowing his words to sink in. the weight of attachment evident in the story and in their own lives. Then, Buddha said, a traveler passed by and saw the man sitting amidst the ashes, his sorrow an anchor holding him in place. The villagers exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued by the arrival of the traveler, their anticipation growing. Hear not only the sounds, but the emotions carried within them, Buddha instructed, his voice calm yet purposeful. The disciples remained silent, their attention fully immersed in the moment, striving to absorb Buddha's teachings. As the morning turned into noon, sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows upon the ground. Buddha spoke again. Deep listening bridges the divide between self and other, fostering interconnectedness and harmony. Only when the man let go of his despair, Buddha said, did he climb the hill and find the valley beyond. The villagers fell silent, their thoughts filled with the imagery of the fertile valley, the promise of growth replacing the weight of loss. Buddha turned to the farmer, his gaze steady yet compassionate, his words directed at the individual and the group as a whole. Your valley is waiting, Buddha said. It is not in the ashes but in your willingness to move beyond them. The farmer bowed deeply, tears streaming down his face, his sorrow mingling with hope, a reflection of the lessons learned from Buddha's teachings. The river speaks of impermanence and resilience, Buddha said, his voice harmonizing with the flowing water. He scooped a handful of water, watching it trickle between his fingers before returning to the river. Buddha addressed them once more, his teachings extending beyond the immediate moment, encompassing broader truths of resilience and transformation. To resist change, Buddha said, is to linger in the ashes, to remain bound by the weight of what has been lost. He gestured toward the hill in the distance, its peak illuminated by sunlight, a beacon of hope for those willing to climb. To embrace change, Buddha said, is to climb the hill, to seek the valley, and to rebuild with courage and purpose. The villagers nodded, their determination growing, their minds focused on the steps they would take to overcome their loss. Buddha turned to a young boy, his face etched with sadness, clutching a burnt fragment of his family's home tightly in his hands. Master, the boy said, his voice trembling, will I ever feel whole again? Will my heart mend? Buddha knelt beside the boy, his presence a source of comfort and reassurance, his words intended to ease the burden of his pain. The heart mends, Buddha said, not by forgetting but by allowing new joys and connections to fill the space of loss. The disciples sat in silence, their minds and hearts attuned to the lessons of the river and Buddha's teachings. As the sun began to set, casting golden hues across the landscape, Buddha rose and gestured for them to return to the monastery. The fire has taken much, but it cannot take your spirit. The villagers bowed deeply, their gratitude evident, their hearts lightened by the teachings that had illuminated their path forward. Buddha rose, his movements measured, preparing to continue his journey to those who awaited his guidance elsewhere. Remember this, Buddha said, his voice resonating with clarity. The valley of renewal is within reach, but only if you let go of the ashes. The villagers dispersed, their hope rekindled, their determination renewed, each carrying with them the wisdom imparted by their teacher. Buddha turned to his disciples, who had observed the teachings with reverence, their minds focused on the truths revealed through the parable. My disciples, Buddha said, it is not enough to speak of renewal. You must embody it in your actions and your thoughts. The disciples nodded, their understanding deepened, their resolve strengthened to live the lessons they had learned through their master's guidance. Buddha stood beneath the Bodhi tree, his presence serene and unwavering, radiating an aura of infinite wisdom. He gestured for his disciples to follow him, leading them to the banks of a nearby river, its waters glistening under sunlight, the land bearing witness to the teachings. awaited the renewal promised by those who sought to rebuild and transform. Another day. Another journey. Buddha walked with his disciples to a lotus pond, where the air smelled of blooming flowers. The pond reflected the sky's serene blue, its surface dotted with lotus blossoms rising gracefully above the muddy water. The disciples stopped to admire the sight, their hearts calmed by the beauty and stillness of the moment. Ananda spoke first, his voice steady. "Master, the river's melody reminds me of life's continuous flow, unbroken yet ever-changing. Look at this lotus," Buddha began, his voice a blend of compassion and quiet strength. "It rises above the mud, untouched." The disciples gazed at the flower, its purity striking against the murky depths from which it grew, a symbol of perseverance. "The mud is the root of its strength," Buddha continued, his words prompting reflection. "Without it, the lotus could not bloom." He gently placed the lotus back in the water, its ripples spreading outward, a subtle reminder of interconnectedness. This pebble's journey is shaped by the river's flow, each ripple crafting its form, Buddha observed, his voice thoughtful. He lifted the pebble from the water, holding it aloft for his disciples to see. The mud does not hinder the lotus, it nurtures its growth. The monk listened intently, his doubts easing as he considered the metaphor, the lessons emerging with each ripple in the pond. Buddha placed the pebble back into the river, watching it settle gently before continuing his lesson. "To listen deeply is to honor the interconnectedness of all things," Buddha said, his voice flowing like the river. Ravi asked, "Master, how can we listen deeply when distractions cloud our minds?" Buddha turned his gaze toward Ravi, his expression gentle yet instructive. "Ravi, quiet the mind through presence and compassion, for only then can true understanding emerge," Buddha explained patiently. "Meaning arises from perspective," Buddha said. "Struggles are not obstacles. They are the soil from which wisdom and compassion bloom." The elder nodded, his mind quieting, his heart receptive to the truth revealed through the simplicity of Buddha's analogy. "When you embrace the mud," Buddha said, "you make it your teacher, your source of strength, your path to enlightenment." A child, standing shyly among the disciples, approached Buddha, her small hands clasped tightly, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Master," the child asked, her voice soft but clear, "is the mud bad if it is so helpful to the lotus?" Buddha smiled, his expression gentle as he spoke, his words accessible to the child's understanding yet profound in their message. "The mud is neither good nor bad," Buddha said. "It simply is. It becomes valuable when we allow it to shape us." The disciples considered his words, the concept of neutrality shifting their perceptions of their own experiences, their struggles gaining new meaning. Buddha rose to his feet, his movements measured, his presence grounding those who followed him on their spiritual paths. "The lotus does not resist the mud," Buddha said. "It uses it, transforms it, and rises toward the light." The disciples nodded, their minds attuned to the imagery and lessons, their commitment to growth strengthened by their master's wisdom. One disciple, Sujata, who had long struggled with accepting personal failures, stepped forward, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "Master," Sujata said, "how can we move forward when the mud feels too heavy? When it seems impossible to rise?" Buddha turned to her, his gaze filled with compassion, his teachings offering a guiding light for those burdened by the weight of their fears. "You take one step at a time," Buddha said. "Patience and mindfulness are the petals that guide you upward." Steadily, Sujata bowed deeply, her doubts lifting as her heart embraced the simplicity and truth of Buddha's response. Her resolve renewed. "The lotus does not rush its growth," Buddha added. "It unfolds slowly, each petal revealing itself in its own time." The disciples reflected on his words. The balance between patience and transformation, a harmony they sought to embody in their lives. Buddha gestured toward the pond, its surface calm, its depths rich with the potential that gave life to the flowers above. "Look at the pond," Buddha said. They bowed deeply, their hearts filled with gratitude. Before retreating to their chambers, the knight embraced the monastery in its quiet tranquility, the river's melody continuing to weave its lessons into the fabric of existence. By cultivating humility and gratitude, Buddha said, "Your roots are your foundation. Without them, reaching the light has no meaning." Channa nodded, his doubts tempered by the clarity of Buddha's answer. The path forward illuminated with understanding and resolve. The disciples sat in silence, their reflections deepened by the stillness of the pond, their hearts lightened by the teachings imparted. Buddha knelt one final time, his fingers brushing the petals of the lotus, their softness a reminder of life's fragility and beauty. "Remember this," Buddha said. "The mud is part of the journey, not the destination. Embrace it, and you will find peace." The disciples bowed deeply, their gratitude flowing freely, their minds and spirits uplifted by the wisdom of their teacher's words and actions. Buddha stood, his gaze resting on the horizon, his presence a beacon of calm and understanding amidst the shifting world. The pond, its surface unbroken, bore witness to the teachings shared that day, the lessons rippling outward like the water's gentle waves. The lotus, serene and steadfast, remained as a symbol of resilience, a reminder of life's interconnectedness and impermanence. The disciples dispersed, each carrying the teachings within their hearts, their commitment to growth and mindfulness deepened by their master's example. Buddha continued his journey, his presence a reminder of the strength found in acceptance and the beauty born of transformation. The teachings shared by the pond echoed in the hearts of those who listened, inspiring change and growth. Their spirits lifted, the journey continued, the lessons timeless, the wisdom boundless, as Buddha walked with those who sought the path. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.